It's you versus me. And you can't say the word, but I can.
That is true. I really can't.
Rivalry. 3 syllables. It ain't that hard, man.
Okay, here I go. It's rivalry week. The greatest weekend of college football is finally here. Is this going to be the year that Ohio State finally beats Michigan? I don't know. We'll talk about it. We're talking
Maybe
week
they
14.
don't. They win the national title again, man.
That's true. That's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah. So this is the Nitro College Football Show. I'm Burl.
I'm Street.
Like and subscribe if you love college football and want to hear two dummies talk football. That's what we do. All right. It's here. Rivalry week.
Nailed it.
So this is the greatest week of college football, the greatest weekend of college football. Last year was amazing. It was one of the best. I'm so pumped for this year's. I mean, so many meaningful games coming out of these rivalries this week. I mean,
the playoff scenarios are unlimited. I mean, it's crazy how many, all of the conference championships pretty much are still up for grabs based on this week. Even in the SEC where you've got front runners, there's strange things will happen this weekend.
Strange things are brewing.
Or as Ted would say, strange things are afoot at the Circle K. Sorry, if you were under the age of 40, you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
It's good stuff. I love it. Okay. So let's start with the game that's near and dear to our hearts. Clean, old-fashioned hate. Number 4, Georgia Bulldogs.
Let the hate flow.
Yes. Versus number 16, Georgia Tech, who's coming off a tragic loss, according to them. UGA is favored by 13.5. It's pretty good.
I think it's jumped to 14 today.
I think
it's up to 14 now.
It keeps growing.
It does.
And yes, that's what she said. Tell us a little bit of history of this rivalry.
Yeah, so this is a good rivalry to talk about, because if you don't understand the history of Georgia Tech, you may just, especially if you've looked at the last 25 years, Georgia has dominated the series, 21-3 since 2001. It's the 119th matchup of this series, 72, 41-5. Disputed numbers, whatever. Georgia going for its 8th straight win in the series. That would tie Georgia Tech's longest streak. But even more interesting, a few years ago, well, it's been about 15 years ago, I wrote an article for SB Nation about the Georgia Tech rivalry. And it talked about the hiring of Vince Dooley. When Vince Dooley took over at Georgia, this was almost an even series, because Georgia Tech was the more storied program at that point. But Vince Dooley changed the culture and really changed things. And here we are, 60 years later, and Georgia has a 20 game or a 30 game commanding lead in this series. And it's really been brought about, by the change of Georgia becoming more of a power than Tech, and Tech kind of falling back. This game is typically pretty competitive. Now, there's been years where Georgia has been up and absolutely dominated, but there were a lot of years where Tech was down, and they've managed to make Georgia fans feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it was the equalizer of the Paul Johnson wing tee offense. Sometimes it was just strange things that happened in the game. I like to remember the 2014 game as one of the strangest college football games I ever went to. Georgia fumbled multiple times on the goal line. They came back to take the lead with just like seconds left. Tech, they squibbed the onside kick and got a penalty, so Tech kicked a long field goal, and Tech ended up winning in overtime. It's just a crazy game. But if you look back, like I said, over the last 25 years, Georgia Tech has only beaten Georgia 3 times. And those games, it was a 6-point game, a 3-point game, and a 1-point game.
And all in Athens.
And all in Athens, right? That's the other thing. This week, this game is being played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That's because Tech needs money. And they made a wise decision because at $160 a pop for upper level seats, they sold this game out and they're making way more money than they would make in their piddly little joke by Coke. So, they're making a ton of money on this game. Georgia hasn't lost in Atlanta since 1999. Jokingly, we call that stadium the joke by Coke or Mark Richt Field,
Yes.
But coming into this game a few weeks ago, this was anticipated as probably the best Georgia Tech game potentially ever.
Yeah, had the potential to be a top 10 matchup.
I mean, if Georgia Tech wouldn't have screwed around and lost 2 of its last 3 games, it potentially could have been 11-0 Georgia Tech versus 10-1 Georgia.
Yeah, but if you look at how Tech has played all year, they've been living on the edge against a very subpar schedule. And it's not their fault that their schedule is not good. You schedule who you schedule. Clemson was preseason ranked very high, and that was a huge win, but now doesn't look great because Clemson's not very good this year.
Right.
And, you have some close games on the road, Wake Forest. You don't really put away Duke, and so you're just kind of living on that edge, and
right. A couple of games that they probably should have lost. Wake Forest, there was a horrible call that ended up sending the game to overtime. In the Duke game, a fluke fumble that was returned for a touchdown. They lived dangerously all year long. I mean, hell, they probably should have lost to Boston College the week before last. That's an
interesting team because they've had a couple weeks where Boston College plays super hard against people.
Right, they did against Notre Dame like the week before too, but they're like what, 1-10.
Exactly, it's weird.
But Georgia Tech this season has literally been a team that I like to call a one-man show, and that man is Haynes King. Haynes King has been phenomenal for Georgia Tech. He has been everything for them. 2,500 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 72% completion. Now, that's great for, his passing numbers are pretty good. But, man, he's really shined as a runner. 880 yards rushing, 15 rushing touchdowns. This dude is tough as nails.
He may not
be the best downfield passer, but, my God, he is everything for this team on offense.
He is, and he introduced everybody to that toughness in this game last year.
Yeah.
In the million overtime game. And that was the one thing coming out of that game was everybody was like, man, Haynes King is a freaking warrior.
Yeah. Well, and coming out of high school, he was one of the top recruits in the country. He was at A&M. Now he's been at Tech. He's one of these guys who benefited, an extra year. He's a guy who's been a starter in part of 5 seasons in college football, 3 years at Tech. Played a couple years at A&M, but he's a very, very, very good player. And Tech's offense has really, really been solid this year with him at the helm. They, they score a ton of points, and they are, they move the ball both through the air and on the ground. I was pulling up the numbers, so they are where are they at? They are 27th in the country passing, 17th rushing, 20th in scoring, 5th overall offense in the country.
Solid offense against poor defenses.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's great that they have these great numbers on offense, but they've played 9 Power 4 opponents this season. There was only one defense that they've played that it was even ranked in the top 26 in the country, and that was Wake Forest. They've only faced 3 teams that were even in the top 45 in the country in defense. And they faced 4 teams out of those 9 power conference opponents who were 108th or worse in the country. So, yes, their offense has been very impressive, but, man, the competition has not been there.
Yeah, so while their offense has been impressive, the defense, not so much. So, total defense, they're 108th. Passing defense, 105th. Rushing defense, 96th. Scoring defense, 77th.
And all those numbers have been getting worse week to week.
Yeah.
Because they actually started out with pretty decent defensive numbers in their first few games. And this ain't, like I said, it's not like they've been playing Indiana and Oregon these last few weeks.
And here's another really interesting stat. Tech's turnover margin, they're -7 for the season.
Yeah.
That's 114th in the nation.
I was going to say that's got to be down in the 110s.
Yeah.
It's got to be really bad.
That's bad.
Yeah. That's straight up. Georgia Tech, their defense is not good. And so, yes, they are a good offense, but they are a bad defense. And you are facing a Georgia team whose offense might be the best complete offense that Georgia has had in recent years and is peaking at the right time. They've got the running game going. They've got Gunnar Stockton back there making the right calls, and they are super efficient. And so the question in this game is not whether Tech can score, because I think Tech's going to score a little bit in this game. I think the question is, can they even get a stop at Georgia? I think if Tech wanted to turn this into a shootout, Georgia would have no problem with that, because I don't think Tech in this game can stop the Georgia offense. If Georgia wants to score 40, they're going to score 40 in this game. I fully believe that.
I do too. I mean, you try to frame these games based off what you've seen earlier in the season. So one of the better teams that Georgia beat that doesn't really have a great defense is Ole Miss. And you saw what Georgia did against Ole Miss, was able to run, pass, pretty much move the ball at will, scored touchdowns on majority of the drives, but scored every drive, no matter what.
Literally every single time they had the ball in the game.
And Georgia can kill you a million different ways now. Like they've won the close games. They've been in the shootouts. Ole Miss, as an example, they've been in, the low scoring, mud show rattling games like Auburn. It's just tough. And they've done it at home. They've done it on the road, and they're coming off basically a bye week, but the week before, huge win over Texas, who's not a bad team, and routed them. I mean, yeah. It was a very impressive game. So, like you said, Georgia's peaking at the right time. I don't even know if that's really the right phrase for it, because they're really just starting to play like Georgia football.
I think it's they have developed in season to their potential. And I think it really started with that fourth quarter at Ole Miss, because Ole Miss had scored 5 touchdowns on 5 straight drives. And then all of a sudden it was like, what are we doing? Let's stop this crap.
Yeah.
And since then, other than a couple of garbage time touchdowns against Mississippi State, nobody has really moved the ball at all on Georgia. DJ Lagway had one 40-yard pass. Texas scored a touchdown because Georgia threw a bad interception, and they had one field goal drive. Nobody has been moving the ball in this Georgia defense. And I think it's partly because the secondary has developed. Ellis Robinson finally coming into his own. DeMello Jones has been a revelation back there.
Absolutely.
Georgia's got 3 corners that can cover now. And despite the fact that C.J. Allen is probably still out for this game, it's led to development at the linebacker position, because C.J. Allen was destroying everybody, and he's great. But in his absence in the second half of that Tech game and last week, Raylan Wilson is really stepping up, which we knew he was talented. But it was kind of like C.J. Allen was carrying Raylan Wilson. Well, now Raylan Wilson is the guy back there, and he's got Zayden Walker starting to show up on the stat sheet.
And Chris Cole,
who we knew was uber talented, is playing more. And what really impresses me about the Georgia team that we're seeing is, despite the fact that they lost Jordan Hall a few weeks ago, the defensive line has gotten better and better. And Elijah Griffin, I'm telling you, that dude is a future first-round draft pick. Because he had 1 sack last week, but God, he was in the backfield a ton. And in the Texas game, I don't even know if he had any tackles in the Texas game, but he was pressuring Arch Manning left and right.
Yeah. So that's actually a great thing to talk about. So one of the things that has been missing at Georgia since the departure of Jalen Carter is that interior lineman rush. I think last year we didn't have any interior lineman sacks at all. And to hear a freshman come in, even if it's just one, I mean, you're already starting to take that leap. As you
Yeah.
know, he's going to continue to develop because it's Georgia and they develop people. And I could totally see him being absolutely first round pick.
I mean, he's making the guys around him better too. Ogboko's been better. Joe Joseph Ajanye has been better since Griffin's been in there more. Christian Miller has been his same old stout self, which is great.
Yep. And he wears the pillow on his head.
Yeah. I mean, Xavier McLeod has been in there. Horton has been in there. So you're starting to see guys make plays at that defensive line. And, you know, the knock on Georgia earlier in the season was, well, they can't get sacks and they can't get pressure. Well, Georgia's now getting some sacks. They're not killing it still, but they're getting sacks, but they are getting a lot of pressure. And just think.
And that's what the Georgia defense under Kirby has always been about. They not really looking for stats. Like sacks are great, but it's more about affecting the quarterback. If they're able to affect the quarterback, they do their job, and then they put that trust in the secondary to do their part. And since the quarterback's throwing out of schedule, it's not where it needs to be. And that opens up the opportunity for plays like we saw past few games where we got some picks.
Yeah. And I think in this game for Georgia, the Georgia defense, which nobody's been able to run on Georgia all year long. Georgia's 5th in the country in rush defense. And Haynes King is effective when he uses motion, uses his legs, and then gets guys open. He does not beat you down the field. If Georgia can totally stuff the Georgia Tech running game, and that includes Haynes King, which he's going to get some, but if you can really stuff them, if you can stuff Michael Hosley and Jamal Haynes and make it really just be Haynes King taking hits, but you turn it, you get a little lead, and you make him be a passer, Haynes King's great off play action and moving around. I don't think he's going to beat you down the field that much. So if Georgia really stuffs up the Tech rushing game early in this game and they make Haynes King try to beat them just as a passer, that's how you're going to end up with a 45-10 game.
Yeah, so I think the biggest matchup here is Buster Faulkner in his mind against Kirby's defense, Glenn Schumann's defense. Because last year, everybody started saying, you know, after that Tech game last year, is that, man, Buster Faulkner figured something out against that Georgia defense. And that's been kind of the blueprint going forward after that, which we, you know, have been pulling our hair out about a lot of things. But it seems that it's been more of a talent gap in certain areas on the defense more than anything. So that's going to be a big key to the game, is how well Buster Faulkner can put together a game plan against this Georgia defense.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing Tech had last year that they don't have this year, while King has been great, Jamal Haynes is a good running back, they don't have as much talent on the offensive side of the ball as they did last year. Their offensive line was a lot better last year. They had a really good tight end last year, and they had Eric Singleton, who was one of the better receivers in the country last year. They don't have that this year. And I think they're just going to be a little bit more challenged up front. And like I said, if Georgia should be able to move the ball at will on offense. This Georgia Tech team, I mean, you said the numbers. Everybody's moving the ball on them. I mean, I think Pitt came in last week like in the low 80s, 90s rushing the ball. And then they had a running back run for 200 yards last week.
Yeah, so that's got to give you a lot of hope as a Georgia fan, because not only is Nathan Frazier hitting his stride and playing like a man possessed, get Chauncey Bowens back. He's been injured. Right.
And that's the other good thing about last week for Georgia. They got to rest some guys. Drew Bobo's got that laceration on his hand. He didn't play last week. He's getting healthier. You got Bowens got some time resting last week. I think Ernest Green got some more time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia got to play that game, and Delp didn't play last week, so Georgia's rested. They are coming in here healthier on the offensive line and healthier on offense than they've been for most of the season. And once again, Georgia has so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. Noah Thomas has really stepped up in the last few weeks in the absence of Colby Young. And Zachariah Branch, there's nobody on Tech that can cover that guy. Zachariah Branch in the SEC and SEC games led all receivers in receptions. Now, yes, he runs a lot of shorter routes, so not in yards, but in receptions. When was the last time Georgia had a guy who led the SEC in receptions? He's had 53 catches in 8 SEC games this year.
I think he's up there in yak yards too.
Yeah. So, like I said, this game to me, it's Georgia's strength on Tech weakness on offense and defense. Yeah, Tech is a good offense, but Georgia's defense has been getting better and better, and Tech needs that running game to work, and I just don't see it happening. A couple of mentions. There are a couple of former Dogs who do play on Georgia Tech's team. Former Georgia linebacker E.J. Lightsey is third on Tech in tackles. You will remember him as a guy who, about a week before he was supposed to roll in Georgia, got shot. Ended up playing a little bit at Georgia back in 2022 in the national championship game. Transferred on to Tech, has had a good career. And then tight end Brett Seether, who's been there for a few years now. He's got 9 catches for them this year. So a little revenge on a couple of guys, those guys that Kirby talked about transferring to other programs.
Yeah, we schedule them, even though they've been on the schedule every year. That was a funny line. It really was, because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So anything else on this game, man? I think one other interesting I want to point out. I think it was Brooks Austin said today. He said he looked at this game kind of like a baseball analogy, where when you're in a baseball game and there's a starting pitcher and you get to the third time through the lineup, the batting average and stats and stuff go way up that third time, no matter what the pitcher is. And it's because you see it once, you see it twice, and you see it the third time. Brooks Austin said he thought this is the third time that Georgia is seeing the Buster Faulkner, Haynes King combination on offense. He said this might be the tipping point. And I kind of agree with that. I think that Georgia, even at the end of the game last year, kind of started to figure it out a little bit at the end of the game last year. So I'm going Georgia big in this game. I think Tech will score some. I think Georgia, if they want to score 40, they can. I don't think they'll have to. So give me Georgia 38, Tech 21.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to really step up in this game. You know, it's going to be a lot of Band-Aids and ibuprofen.
Yeah,
because the way the Dogs have been playing on defense pretty much the second half of the season, like you mentioned, at the end of that Ole Miss game, that was a real turning point for the defense. So I don't really see Tech getting a lot of points in this game. So I'm actually calling Georgia 38, Tech 10.
Nice. Yeah, and that absolutely could happen. Like I said, especially if Georgia gets let's say it's 14-0, and Tech's got to throw the ball. They're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they might get to 21 with some garbage time.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe so, maybe not. But if you are watching live right now, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Help us out. If you love college football, it's the thing to do. All right, Egg Bowl.
Egg Bowl. You know, this is one of those games, no matter how bad or bad good the teams are, the teams just really just hate each other so much that it's always fun to watch. And I love that this game is going to be, back on a Friday. But there's a lot more intrigue to this game simply because of the situation with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, outside of the game.
Outside of the game, right? Because on paper, Ole Miss at 7.5 when they are a top 10 team against a Mississippi State team that won one conference game this year.
Yeah, it was the first conference game that they've won in years.
Right. They came into that Georgia game, and some random people were like, "Oh, Mississippi State's going to upset Georgia." Like, no.
No.
So the fact that it's 7.5 speaks a lot to everything surrounding this game. And the real question is this the swan song for Lane Kiffin? There's been so much this week that, they came out, the university president there at Ole Miss came out with this statement that said that they're going to make a decision after the Egg Bowl. And it's interesting, right?
It is. A lot of things can happen. There's a lot of scenarios that could happen based off this game and whatever Lane Kiffin decides. If Ole Miss somehow loses this game, they're out of the playoff, probably. And then if they win the game and Kiffin announces he's going to LSU, more than likely, then what's the committee do?
Right. So here's my thoughts on that, because if Kiffin leaves, does the committee punish them? So if you are a player on Ole Miss and you are Ole Miss's team, you need to score every freaking point you can this week. You need to send a message that despite whatever happens with our coach, we are focused on an in-state rival and we're going to score so much so that they can't be held out of a 12-team playoff, because everybody's now kind of making that comparison to the Florida State situation a few years ago.
Right.
Problem with that was a 14 playoff. This is a 12-team playoff. Ole Miss has one loss, and they're currently, sitting there at number 6, number 7 in the conference, right?
So I also think it depends on how Kiffin potentially leaves. So let's say he's moving on. Does he ride out this year if they with the team that he's got to take them through the playoffs, or is he peacing out? Because
if he takes the LSU or Florida job, he's gone. They're going to be paying him way too much money to sit around and try to half-ass coach it. Kind of like Lane Kiffin when he was at Alabama and they were in the playoff and they get to that championship game and Saban said, "You know what, Lane, just go," when he was leaving for FAU. But Kirby stuck around, if you remember that.
Right.
Saban kept Kirby, but told Kiffin to get on.
Yeah, but it's still a possibility and would be really interesting, because if he takes the job and leaves, is not finishing out the season, then yeah, you got to have a lot of questions about that team, no matter what they do today.
And when are they making this announcement? Is this like right after the game?
I think it's Saturday.
Because what happens if on Saturday Texas wins and Auburn wins, and all of a sudden Ole Miss is in the SEC championship game next week?
Well, that's why I say, if he announces, if it's me, I want to finish this out because I got a chance to win a national title.
Yeah, very true. but I don't know.
Why would I pull out halfway through?
If you're in a place like LSU and you're going to be paying him $13.5 million a year, you don't care. You have no care for that team.
No, but you care about legacy and national titles. I mean, that's what defines
Kiffin might, but LSU legacy certainly doesn't.
Oh, I don't care what LSU thinks. I'm like, Kiffin is the one driving the ship.
Right, but I'm saying it may not be his choice. I mean, if he's taking the job at LSU, they might say, "You're taking this job, you're coming."
I mean, he's the bachelor. He's handing out the roses, man.
Very true. Very true. I just don't think either the two jobs, that the Florida job and the LSU job, I just don't see either of them waiting. I just don't. So if that's really true, if that's what he's thinking, then he's staying at Ole Miss or going to the Tennessee Titans.
That was hilarious.
Tom Fornelli throwing that one out there. So obviously Kiffin is the intriguing thing here. But let's talk a little bit about the game here in and of itself.
Oh, they're still playing a game, right?
Yeah. And like I said, for Ole Miss, this game is really important because of the situation with Kiffin, because they are technically still alive for the SEC championship, and because of seeding. This game's important for them to win. Trinidad Chambliss has been great for them this year. He is 343 yards away from 3,000 on the season. Expect him to get it.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw what Georgia did against this team, and Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin was obviously paying attention to that during the game that he was currently coaching and made a
Yeah.
comment about it at halftime.
Yeah.
So he obviously thinks that there's a lot of comparables there and feels like he's going to be able to score some points on Mississippi State.
Yeah. I mean, they should, right?
They absolutely should.
Ole Miss,
This
Mississippi
should
State is
not even be close.
121st in the country in rush defense. Ole Miss likes to run the football. Kewan Lacey is one of the top running backs in the SEC. You know, Chambliss can run it a little bit. He doesn't run it much, but he can run it. I think they're just going to score a ton of points in this game.
I do too. I mean, that's what Ole Miss does.
Right. For Miss
That's
State,
their bread and butter.
Right. For Mississippi State, I mean, they win this game, they could get bowl eligible. You know, they still
they've got a lot to play for, actually, because like you said, trying to play for bowl eligibility, it's your hated rival, so you get to be spoiler, like legit spoiler in this case.
And I think you look at this game, if Mississippi State struggles early in the game with Blake Shapen at quarterback, they're going to put in Mario Taylor really quick.
They ought to play him anyway.
I mean, I think they should play him anyway, but I think Shapen started last week, so I think that would be a quick switch because Mario Taylor, I mean, he scored 3 touchdowns against Georgia.
Right? I know. Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's their only chance. I think Mississippi State is going to have to score a lot. I think Ole Miss doesn't mind that. They like the high-scoring games, but I just don't see a way that Mississippi State can keep up. So for me, this is style points. Give me Mississippi State, or give me Ole Miss 42, Mississippi State 31.
I think this is going to be no contest. Give me Ole Miss 45, Mississippi State 17. I don't even think they're going to get that far.
Yeah. It's a lot like Georgia, the Georgia game.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yep.
All right. If you're watching with us live and you love college football, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help us out. We are about to move on to the Lone Star Showdown. I had to look this name up. I don't even know this is a real name, but I don't know. That's what the interweb said, is that this is the Lone Star Showdown. So we got number 3, Texas A&M versus number 17, Texas. It's a 2.5 points spread in favor of A&M, and this game has huge ramifications.
This game's going to be awesome, man. I think this is going to be a hell of a fight. And anybody who looks and says, "Oh, Texas A&M's undefeated and Texas is coming in this game with 3 losses," you don't think this is going to be a fight. You're going to be in for a surprise come Friday night. Texas leads this series 77-37 and 5 ties. Texas has dominated this series. Between 2, historical programs in the country, Texas has absolutely dominated this series. But these are the schools that hated themselves. They hate each other so much that Texas A&M left the Big 12 conference to join the SEC just to get away. And didn't play this game.
They do hate themselves too.
Yeah. And they didn't play this game from 2011 to 2023 because of it. That's how much they hate each other. They wouldn't play this game. So I'm so glad that this game is back. It is one of those cool, whatever, either if they're playing in Austin or they're playing in College Station, it's always a cool environment. And Texas A&M, they have been the belle of the SEC this year. Undefeated, looking great, very balanced. And then you got Texas, the preseason favorite, who has fell just short of expectations. What a game, man.
It is. And interesting thing about A&M, and I'm sure everybody has seen this by now, but A&M's schedule in the SEC, all of their wins have come against teams in the SEC with losing or 500 or less records.
Right.
Which is wild. But they do have great win over Notre Dame. It was at Notre Dame, so that's legit. And then you have Texas on the other side. While they are 10-2, or not 10-2, but what are they? 9-2 right now, right?
No, they're 8-3.
8-3. 8-3. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. 8-3. The games that they have won recently with Arch Manning playing really well, and yes, Arch Manning is actually playing really well this year, despite how everything started.
Arch Manning has 30 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I mean he's doing just fine. The problem though is the defense, as good as it's normally been, like we saw last year, has not been there this year. They had to come from behind overtime against Mississippi State to win that game. There was another game that they got lucky and won. Oh, I think it was the Vandy game with the another punt return.
No, you're thinking of the Oklahoma game.
Oklahoma game, that's what it is. Yeah.
No, Vandy, they jumped on him early, but it was Oklahoma game. They got the punt return that ended up winning the game for them.
Yeah, so Texas is kind of a mixed bag right now. Like they could either show up and be the Texas that we thought they were going to be, or they're going to get their ass beat.
Yeah. So, I mean, both of these are very strong teams, and obviously A&M, Marcel Reed is right up there in the Heisman conversation, has developed really into a passer more this year, in addition to his legs and the running game. And I think Texas will be able to move the ball. But there's two glaring things, two statistics that really stick out to me in this game, and why I think Texas A&M is ultimately going to win the game. Number one, Texas, for as strong as their defense is, they're 107th in the country in pass defense. Gunnar Stockton had 4 passing touchdowns against them. Like, yeah, they can still run. Yeah, they've got some great players, but they just can't stop people. And A&M has proven in games where they needed to pass the ball that they can do it. They did it against Notre Dame. They did it in the comeback against South Carolina.
Well, they have 2 of the best receivers in the SEC as well.
Very, very true. The other stat that stands out even more than that, Texas is 110th in the country in rushing. They get no support from their ground game. Arch Manning, as much lumps as he's taken, he's played better because he's had to.
Yeah.
He has grown up and developed. And remember that he's part of that rushing attack too, and they haven't really used him much this year. So to me, those two stats in a game where you have a lot of, you have 2 really good rosters with really talented players stick out to me.
Yep. And going into this game, Texas is going to be without Anthony Hill. So that's going to hurt their passing game even more.
Is he not play? I thought he was going to play.
He
broke his hand. He broke his hand in the Georgia game, but I thought he was going to play.
He is currently listed on the injury report.
Okay.
Of course, that could change, day of the game, because how these coaches
the only player listed on their injury report. Of course, when they played Georgia, they had nobody on the injury report.
Exactly. But that's a huge loss for them
if he doesn't play. Like I said, questionable, but it was a broken hand. So, you put one of those clubs on him and you get Patrick Willis. Scariest thing I ever saw in a stadium was Patrick Willis with a club on his hand, circa 2003. But yeah, but if you've got him in a club, then he's not making interceptions or anything like that. So
exactly. Yeah, I'm excited for this game. It's going to be fun to watch. I think Texas A&M is going to run away with this one. So yeah. I got them winning 35, Texas 17.
Yeah. So tensions will be high in this game. And these are 2 of the most penalized teams in the country. Texas is 121st. A&M's 116th. Expect that to continue. There's going to be some personal fouls. There's going to be some late hits. all that stuff. It's going to be nasty. I think Texas A&M is the better team here. And like I said, those stats I pointed out, Texas can't run the football and they can't stop you passing it. So give me Texas A&M 27, Texas 20.
I love it. I love it. We got to stop picking the same.
Yeah.
All right. The game. Number 1, Ohio State versus number 18, Michigan. Is this the year that Ohio State finally beats Michigan?
You know, you would think so. It's interesting. This rivalry obviously is one of the crown jewels of the sport, and really one of the crown jewels of the sporting world as a whole. Michigan leads the series all time, 62, 51, and 6, including the last 4. Now, before that, Ohio State had won 15 of the last 16 games in this series. That's crazy. I mean, I knew that they had dominated there for a while, but I didn't realize that Michigan still has a lead. Michigan used to have a big lead in this series. But yeah, Ohio State, it's almost like last year, you know, they lost and they used that motivation to a national championship. This year, if they were to lose again but win the national championship, like, would their fans even be satisfied?
Yes.
but like, seriously, like last year they lost the game and they were talking about firing Ryan Day.
I know. So this is funny. I love Ohio State fans because they give us so much good content. Saw something today. Someone said that Ryan Day is the new Nick Saban. I almost peed my pants laughing. I mean, what the hell? How could you even come close to saying that? He's won 1 national title in a season where, like you said, he was about to get fired.
Right. In the first year of a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
You got into the playoff with 2 losses. Like, Kirby Smart ain't the next Nick Saban. Nobody's the next Nick Saban. I'm sorry.
That was the first comment. It said, you're not even Kirby Smart. He's got 2 natties.
And Kirby Smart ain't the next Nick Saban either. I love Kirby Smart, but nobody's Nick Saban, dude. Nobody's doing what that man did. It was a 4-team playoff or a 2-team playoff for his whole career, and he was winning national titles every year. So let's not even get that out of our head. But yeah, you know, Michigan for Ohio State, they entered the game at number 1 this year, and they entered the game at number 2 for the last 4 years. And they lost as the number 2 team in the country 4 years in a row. So maybe this year, as the number 1 team in the country, they'll win.
So number 2 does not work for them.
No, it doesn't. Also, crazy statistic is this is the 13th straight year that Ohio State has come into this game ranked in the top 10.
Wow. I mean, that's good on them.
Yeah. Now, we all know this Ohio State team, their schedule hasn't been that great. They played Texas first week of the season. But despite their schedule, you know, not really being that tough, they didn't have to play Oregon this year. They didn't play Indiana this year. They are having a historic season on defense. Number 1 overall defense in the country. Number 2 rushing defense in the country. Number 1 passing defense in the country. And the number 1 scoring defense in the country at 7.6 points per game.
Is that good?
Phenomenal. It's the only way you can describe it.
Yeah, makes me wonder what that 2021 Georgia defense would have done against this schedule.
I mean, that Georgia defense had 3 shutouts, right?
Yeah.
and you know, I don't know what they would have done to that schedule. Since Ohio State.
I mean, yeah. Absolutely fantastic job that Ohio State's doing right now. I mean, they absolutely deserve to be the number 1 team in the country. They have everything rolling for them. Julian Sayin has stepped right in and picked up right where Will Howard left off. And like you said, that defense has just been nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. Their offense has been great. Their rushing offense has not been great. They're 56th in the country. So maybe if you want to point out a weakness, that's it. But the passing game, Sayin has been fantastic. He's up near 80% completions. They got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, probably the best 1-2 punch in the country at receiver. They've been phenomenal. And yes, their schedule has been, bad. Like they played Texas to open the season #1. They've had one ranked opponent since then, and that was Illinois. So they haven't been challenged, but they haven't even been dented. So for Michigan, this game, I think, really becomes more about Michigan and what Michigan is looking for and what they can do. True freshman quarterback. They have lived the true freshman quarterback life this season.
Yes, they have. They are not doing very well in the passing game, which has been their Achilles heel the past few years, but has not been a problem against Ohio State.
Right. So despite the fact that their passing game has really bad and they've lost 2 top running backs, including Justice Haynes, who was having an All-American level season, they are 10th in the country in rushing with 223 yards rushing per game. So they can run the football. They may not pass it much, but they can definitely run the football. And
did you say Justice Haynes is out?
Yeah, is he not? He's been out like the whole season. Unless he came back.
Oh,
and I missed it.
I remember.
Their backup running back was also out, but I think he's back. Justice Haynes had a season-ending injury.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So, like I said, they've been able to run the football, and their defense is good. So they're number 15 in the country scoring defense as well. So yes, Ohio State's #1. Well, Michigan's pretty good at number 15. So I think if they hope to hang with Ohio State, they're going to have to turn this into a defensive milk the clock type game. Because if it goes high scoring, they're not going to keep up.
Yeah, I would say the one saving grace that they have is they're pretty good at stopping the run. Now, that might not mean a thing against Ohio State because you got Julian Sayin, you got Carnell Tate, and you got Jeremiah Smith. And it doesn't take much. Jeremiah Smith's one of those guys like Zachariah Branch where you just throw it to him in flat. Let him do Jeremiah Smith things.
Yeah.
So I think this is the year that my in-laws are finally going to be happy at our Thanksgiving weekend get together. And Ohio State, I think they have years of pent-up aggression. And Ryan Day, at least, is going to have years of pent-up aggression against Michigan. And I think they're going to roll them 38-10.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's going to win. I think they're going to win comfortably. There might be some points early on where Michigan hangs around, but give me Ohio State 30, Michigan 17.
OH?
Hell no.
I love it. And if you love college football and you're watching this right now, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We talk college football every week. It's what we love. And if you love it too, hit that subscribe button. Okay, now for the real rivalry, the Iron Bowl. Number 10, Alabama, goes into Jordan-Hare, where all those ghosts live, to face the Auburn Tigers.
Well, Bama leads 51-37-1. Bama's won the last 5. They've won 9 of 11. Remember those days back in the, I don't know when it was, the aughts, when Auburn was about to win 5 in a row and they kept saying, let's get one for the thumb?
Oh, Fear the Thumb. Yeah. I
That
remember
seems
that.
like a long time ago.
They had a billboard that said Fear the
Yeah,
Thumb.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
But this game is really interesting. Alabama's only favored by 6. And yes, this is the Iron Bowl, but on paper, this is an Auburn team that's 1-6 in conference. Like they need to get a win to make a bowl game. And they've been missing bowl games left and right. It's real interesting. They've got a coaching situation that's interesting too, because you haven't heard Auburn up here as one of these teams that's going after these high profile candidates at all. In fact, I've barely heard anything about their coaching search. And I think that's because they are hoping that DJ Durkin can make something happen that will force them to make him the head coach. We know he's a good defensive coordinator. Auburn's been a good defensive school all year. They are hoping that they can win this game and they solve their problem with finding a new head coach in-house.
Yeah, because that is ultimately the requirement, right? At Auburn is to beat Alabama.
It's why Gus Malzahn kept getting contract extensions, even though he had just signed a new one like 2 years before.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that Gus Malzahn can do is beat Alabama.
That was it. So, like I said, Auburn's in an interesting situation because a couple weeks ago, Ashton Daniels played really well. And so they decided to bench him last week because he's going to play this week. He's going to start this week, but they benched him last week to preserve his red shirt because if he would have played last week and this week, he would have been over his limit and couldn't redshirt. So that's a clear indication that they're expecting him to come back. Jackson Arnold, who knows what happens with him. But last week they played Mercer. Now, yes, it's Mercer, but they played Deuce Knight at quarterback, and he had 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, I would not be shocked if they rolled with Deuce.
They're not. They're starting Ashton Daniels.
Why?
They said he's starting this week. That's why they had him sit out last week. They knew he was going to play this week, and they knew they wanted to preserve his red shirt. They came out and said it. So they are, but Daniels has played pretty well since he's kind of taken over as the starter. So, it's an interesting conundrum for Alabama because let's say that Daniels struggles. Well, you've got this freshman who came in and put in these huge numbers last week too. So it could be one of those situations where you're Alabama and you see something a little bit different, like when Georgia always had problems with the backup,
Yeah. Or Jackson Arnold somehow comes back in. He beat him at Oklahoma.
He beat him last year.
It's not that far outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. So we know about Alabama. We know what they are. We know their bright spots. But there's a couple of reasons that you might also think Auburn has some hope in this game. Number one, their defense is still pretty strong. Despite being 1-6 in the conference, they have the number 11 rush defense in the country, 26th in scoring. So that's pretty dang good for a team that's 1-6 in conference. And you talk about how strong their rush defense is. Well, the one problem that Alabama has right now is they can't dang run the football at all. They're 107th in the country. And you know what this year's Alabama team feels like a lot to me?
Tell me.
Last year's Georgia team.
That's a good comparison.
Can't run the football, relying on your quarterback to make plays. Receivers had some troubles with drops, lost some close games.
That's a good comparison.
And even more, they could end up in the SEC championship game and win and end up highly ranked in the playoffs, even though they are clearly not as good as they've been.
And lose to Notre Dame.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
The other thing about Alabama too is that Ty Simpson was off to this great start this year, putting up big numbers, really carrying them. But
yeah, he was the Heisman front runner for a while.
Right. But in these last few weeks, he's really cooled off. He early in the season, he was completing 74% of his passes. He had 4 games where he threw for over 74% completion percentage, first 6 games, and he had 16 touchdowns and 1 interception in those first 6 games. In his last 5 games, he's failed to reach 70% in any game. He's got 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So his hot start's really cooled off, and Alabama's inability to run the football combined with not being so great on passing has led to them losing some game. They lost a game they probably shouldn't have lost to Oklahoma, and now they are only a 6-point favorite against Auburn.
So do you think we're going to see classic Iron Bowl stuff happen this weekend?
I don't think we're going to see something crazy. We're not going to have a grave digger, or we're not going to have a kick 6. But I could see this game playing out similar to maybe the Georgia-Auburn game from earlier in the year. Real competitive in the first half. Second half, Bama's just got a little more talent. Just a little bit enough to, in the end, kind of win. It's close, but it doesn't feel that close because they kind of just hold them down in the second half. So I'm going with Alabama, 21-13.
I think this is going to be a slugfest. It might be a ugly game to watch. It really might. Because you think about that Georgia Auburn game, that was an ugly game to watch. Like it was,
Right.
it was visually not pleasing to the eyes. And I think this game's going to be very similar to that, because that Auburn defense is legit, and they're going to be able to get some pressure on Ty Simpson. And as you mentioned, Alabama has no running game, so to speak, this year. And so you pretty much take that out of the equation. So can Auburn lock down those 2 receivers that they have? Probably. So I think it's going to be really close. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I do think Bama pulls it out barely, 13-10, because of the voodoo
of Jordan
Hare. Yeah, weird, wild stuff, as Johnny Carson used to say. All right, moving on to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. There is no rivalry name for this because this has never really been a rivalry.
I mean, it used to not even be the last game of the season, right? Yeah. Tennessee used to always play Kentucky the last game of the season, and I guess they figured it out. And that's when, because Kentucky started playing Louisville at the end of the season, where they used to not, I think, is when it switched up. But this game is fascinating for all the stats about Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
Like Tennessee leads the series.
It's all about Vanderbilt right now. Like but
it shouldn't be, because Tennessee is actually a really good football team.
They really are. People have forgotten about Tennessee. Granted, you look at their schedule; they haven't really beaten anybody of note. But the teams that they have beaten, they beat really bad.
All 3 of their losses are teams in the top 10, and if they had a little luck, hell, they might be 10-1 going into this game. I mean, if they made a field goal against Georgia and they didn't throw a pick 6 going into the end zone against Alabama on the goal line that swung the game, they easily could have been 10-1 coming in. But like I said, the fun in this game, and we'll talk a little bit more about the other stuff, the fun in this game is Vanderbilt, right? This is the first time Vanderbilt is playing Tennessee as a ranked team since 1958. Tennessee leads the series 79-32 with 5 ties. Like, Vanderbilt was a good college football, somewhat semi-power early on. So the fact that they've dominated that series is just crazy.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was a power when all the military schools
right. But here's something funny.
Championships and sending people to the NFL.
Yeah, but here's something funny. Because of Tennessee's vacated wins under Jeremy Pruitt, the series is 5-6. The series is officially 5-6 over the last 11 years. So it's real even. So yeah, so this game, as in terms of what we've got on the field here, these are two great offenses. I mean, what do we got? Tennessee's number 4 in the country, 42 points a game. Vandy's number 9, 39 points a game. You've got two quarterbacks who are really, really successful. Aguilar has been great for Tennessee, better than what they would have hoped were with Nico. 3,100 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 10 picks, but that's what he did. That's what Aguilar did at App State. He threw a lot of picks. He's been great. And then, of course, you've got Diego Pavia, 2,900 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, 600 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. So 34 total touchdowns, 3,600 yards. The dude is living it up now. Of course, he's like a 6th year, 7th year, whatever the hell he is. But he's given Vanderbilt, turned them into a ranked team. Highest, they've been a top 10 team. It's been a crazy year for them.
Yeah, so this is a battle of two quarterbacks competing on the field, but joining forces together in a class action lawsuit.
Yes, trying to play again next year.
Yeah, Diego's never going to graduate. He's going to become the Van Wilder of college football.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years. They're called Diego Pavias.
You're going to see Bert Kreischer showing up to Vanderbilt, hanging out with Theo Vaughn.
Yep. So, all right, man. So, Vandy's trying to keep a playoff spot, a hope of a playoff spot alive. What do you got, bro?
I see this as a high scoring game. A lot of firepower. Both quarterbacks going to light it up. Not a lot of defense going to be played. But I do believe that Tennessee is the better team. They, like you said, they were a field goal try away from beating Georgia. That would have them in the playoff right now. If that one thing didn't happen. And the pick 6 was against Alabama. Vanderbilt, it's a great story. I'm off the Broadway train. No longer Broadway Burl. I'm out of that.
Boo.
So give me Tennessee 32, Vandy 28.
All right, man. So this is the season of destiny for Vanderbilt, man. The season of destiny. I am rocking with Diego Pavia's mom and Theo Vaughn. Give me Vanderbilt 37, Tennessee 35. And they get to 10 wins.
Are they going to tear down Tennessee's goalposts and throw them in the river?
Maybe.
That would be epic. That would be epic. That's going to be a fun game. That's actually going to be a really, really fun game to watch. I'm looking forward to that one. All right. And then one more game that maybe doesn't really excite a lot of people, but it is a really important game for the ACC. Miami gets to face Pittsburgh. And we all know how the ACC is a jumbled mess right now at the top because Tech lost to Pitt last week. Virginia's hanging on by a thread. And Miami has to win this game to have a shot to be in the ACC championship, which is kind of looking like their only path to the playoff.
Yeah, because the playoff committee has said, hey, Miami, it's nice that you beat Notre Dame and you have 2 losses, but you know what? We think Notre Dame's better and we don't care.
Yeah.
That's what they've basically said. They said Notre Dame looks like they're playing better than you right now, so we don't care that they beat you or that you beat them. You're out. Miami needs to win this game. They need to win it by a lot, and they need to have SMU or Virginia lose so they can play in that ACC championship game. Because if they don't think they make the playoff.
They really do. And the committee is praying for that to happen as well, because this is going to be another one of those situations like Florida State getting left out. I mean, Georgia fans can even gripe about when Georgia got left out after
Well, that
losing to
was the same
Alabama.
year.
It was same year. There's gonna be a lot of wildness if Miami wins this and doesn't make the ACC championship.
Right. And Miami's looked really good the last 3 weeks. Carson Beck has recovered from his midseason swoon, completed 75% of his passes in the last 3 games. He's thrown for about 900 yards and 8 touchdowns, no picks in the last 3 games. So Miami has kind of gotten its offensive swag back. Pittsburgh last week beat Georgia Tech. Even though they're 104th in the country, last week they could run all over the place. They're not going to do that to Miami. I think Miami needs to win this as much as they can, but I think Pittsburgh's a little tough. I think Pittsburgh will help kind of stay in it. I think Miami wins. I think Miami covers. So give me Miami 28, Pittsburgh 17.
Yeah, and as much as I don't want to, I kind of feel for Miami because, like you said, the committee is just like, whatever, we don't care that happened. And it's so weird because head-to-head seems to only matter at the end of the season. You can do pretty much whatever you want at the beginning of the season, and it doesn't matter. You can be forgiven because it didn't happen right now. College football is the quintessential prisoner of the moment every week.
Especially now. It used to not be so much, but God, now it really is. And even at that, if you look at Miami, and Miami lost to Louisville, right? Like, everybody's dogging on Louisville. They're not playing good. They've lost a bunch of games lately. Well, Louisville lost their quarterback and their star running back and their running back's backup, who was also really good. When they played Miami, they were at full strength. So they may not be good now, but they were good then.
Yeah, it's weird where in some cases they want to use context to strengthen their argument, but forget about all the context that would weaken the argument.
I mean, this new committee's, they're clowns. So, I mean, they literally did the 6-7.
I know. That was the most cringy thing ever.
So,
but I'm with you. I think Miami wins this game. I don't see it being a blowout. I think Miami pulls it out 24-14. And they set themselves up with a chance to go to the ACC championship with the prayer that either Virginia or SMU somehow loses this weekend.
Yep. All right, man. That was a lot of games. We got a couple of quick picks to wrap this up, and then we'll get you on your way to your college football weekend.
Yeah, and for these, I'm not going to give a score. I'm just going picks because they're quick.
All right. So the first one we have the Palmetto Bowl. We've got Clemson versus South Carolina. Both teams were preseason top 10. Incredibly disappointing years. South Carolina can't even make a bowl game. Clemson, I think, needs to win to make a bowl game, or they've already got a bowl game, but I think Clemson wins. I think this just has been a total dumpster fire for Clemson this year. I'll go 27-23.
Yeah, I'm going Clemson too. I think it's a bit of a revenge game from last year, and Klubnik has been playing much better the past few weeks, and I guess Sellers has not played as well down the stretch. He's been okay.
I mean, he hasn't played well all year, really. He's been up and down.
That's
looked
true.
Great in the first half of that Texas A&M game. Looked horrible in the second half.
Yeah. So I got Clemson. And then we got LSU at Oklahoma, which going into the season, this looked like it was going to be a huge game. It's a huge game for Oklahoma to keep their playoff hopes alive. But LSU is pretty much like completely done, shut down. I mean, they looked terrible last week.
I don't think they really care about this game. They just want to win the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes.
That's what they want. That's what they're here for. They want to win that.
Yeah. These are both defensive teams. Offense, yeah. So I think Oklahoma wins, low scoring. Give me Oklahoma 23, LSU 13.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Oklahoma, they take care of business, keep the playoff hopes alive. And then we have the Cascade Clash.
Is that really the name?
I don't know.
I've never heard that. So if you're out there wondering what the hell the Cascade Clash is, it's Oregon versus Washington. This is really interesting because a couple years ago, the year that Washington made the national championship game, they beat Oregon twice. It was the only losses they had that year. Washington comes in 8-3. Statistically, they're actually a really, really good football team. This could actually be a real challenge for Oregon.
It could. It really could because, Oregon hasn't had too many challenges this year.
Well, they're feeling good after beating USC last week, but
yeah,
this could be a tough game. I think Oregon's got a lot on the line. I think they win the game 34-24.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some more Dan Lanning social media locker room speeches this weekend going into this. So give me Oregon. Taking care of business.
Then we got a game that can both teams just lose and everybody end up happy?
I think
so. We got Florida State.
Florida is actually already happy, but Florida State's not happy because they just said they're bringing back Mike Norvell.
Right. I think Florida State has a little more to play for here. Because Norvell's coming back, I think and because they've had some bright spots this year, I think Florida State wins this game. Give me Florida State 31, Florida 24, and Florida's season ends mercifully, and they can move on to their new coach and try to hang on to the Lagway and find somebody who can actually teach them how to throw the football.
I think Florida is going to win this game. I think they're going to do it, and it's going to be their ride off into the sunset. Love it, and it's going to make the Mike Norvell decision feel even worse.
I could think that, but then I can't help but thinking back to how pathetic Florida looked against Kentucky a few weeks ago. I just think they're done. Like, that's it.
Well, I'm picking them.
You do it.
I hate them, but I'm picking them. All right. And then last but not least, we actually have a ranked matchup. This is going to be a pretty decent game to watch. Arizona versus Arizona State.
Yeah. So, there's been lots of drama about Sam Leavitt potentially transferring. Obviously, he's been out hurt. But let's talk about the fact that Jeff Sims has been a quarterback for like 8 billion years in college football, it seems like. And he's actually playing pretty well. Even had a game where he rushed for like 230 yards a few weeks ago. Both these teams are playing well right now. Ranked on ranked, but I think Arizona State's the better team at the end of the day. And hell, if Arizona State would have dropped that game inexplicably to Mississippi State earlier in the year, they potentially would be in, up there with playoff conversations too. They're still technically alive for the Big 12 championship game if BYU loses this week. So, and they're the only team to beat Texas Tech this year. So, give me Arizona State 38, Arizona 30.
I looked at both their schedules this year, see who they played, common opponents, and the thing that jumped off the page to me was in several games, Arizona beat common opponents by a lot more than Arizona State did, or they lost less. So because of that, give me Arizona. Arizona State doesn't have Cam Scatabo anymore, so done.
All right, man. Well, that will wrap it up for tonight. This was a long one. So if you're still watching, we appreciate you sticking through it. Please, please, please subscribe to the show. It really helps us out. We're growing. We're on the road to 500. Not one of these big time shows that's on the road to 500,000 or a million. No, we are on the road to 500. So hook your brothers out, hook us up, and
don't hook us out.
Yeah, don't hook us out. Hook us up.
We're not that kind of
It's
show.
It's late. But anyway, man. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the college football this weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Rivalry week.
Yes. Until next time, I'm Street.
I'm Burl.
Go Dogs.